Good evening, namaskar, salam alaikum, and wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are. And it is 38th Outreach and Knowledge Transfer webinar on prioritizing mental health in high stress industries. On behalf of J&A Bharat HSC Foundation and J&A Global HSC Foundation, we welcome you all for this particular monthly series. Today we are having a very important topic, prioritizing mental health in high stress industries. And you see the QR codes on the screen on the right side. That's the QR code for the webinar itself. You can always share with your friends. And these are some of the tips for the virtual meeting which we are having. Kindly mute your microphone and raise the hand whenever you want to speak. Switch off your camera for better connectivity. You can post your queries or comments and suggestions in the chat box. This meeting is being recorded for our future reference as requested by many of our fraternity. Kindly register your name, company, designation, phone, email ID in the chat box for future communications. And please stay for the ceremony group photo at the end of our webinar itself. And you can also copy the meeting link and share with your friends for joining. It's a very, very important topic for every professional. On the right-hand side, you see the QR code, which is our WhatsApp group QR code. We have 550 plus members around the world, and it's very active in knowledge sharing around the clock. We are going to have a session in the two parts. The part one will be the introduction about our foundation. And also we have a e-newsletter which we have introduced, and this is an opportunity for us to showcase the newsletter in 4 minutes time. In the part two, we are going to have the topic on the session on the prioritizing mental health in high stress industries with the subject matter expert and Dr. Sumit Sharma from US. And Mr. Jitu Patel knows him very well. He'll be introducing the topic as well as the speaker. And today I also would like to introduce our role players, Dr. Lakshmi Narayan, who is our J&A Bharat Foundation's Chair for Health and Well-being. He'll be conducting the Q&A session. And vote of thanks will be delivered by our J&A Bharat HSC Foundation Chair for HSC Communications and Leadership by Mr. Dinesh Paul. Just to briefly talk about foundations, we would like to have a welcome remarks from our founding trustee, one of our founding trustee, Mr. Jitu Patel. Then we'll start about our foundation. Mr. Jitu.
Thank you, Ashok ji. Good day and namaskar to everyone on the virtual meeting. Honored guests, Professor Ramana Garuji, Dr. Lakshmi Narayan Garuji, Mr. Rao, Mr. Alok Chatterjee, corporate dignitaries, faculty as educators, HSC and professional leaders, and distinguished delegates, and not to forget our honored guest speaker, Mr. Sumit Sharma ji. On behalf of the J&A Bharat and J&A Global HSC Foundations, a very warm welcome to you all. Everyone knows my great friend and a co-founding trustee, Mr. Ashok ji, who just listened to the opening remarks. He has undoubtedly developed countless numbers of health, safety, environment professionals, not only in Indian continent, but also globally. I'm proud to share that after successful completion of his duties as a president, he is now serving the board of safety, certified safety professional board as an advisor. He was recognized with the most prestigious, highest fellow honor award offered by American Society of Safety Professionals, which is the oldest and the largest health and safety professional organization in the world. He's also a fellow of IOS, which is the United Kingdom, similar counterpart of the American Society of Safety Engineers. That is all says it. Ashok ji, with that, can you please proceed with the proceedings of the rest of the meeting, please?
Thank you, Jit sir. Thank you very much for your kind words. And as you see on the previous screen, Jit sir was with the ASSP more than 50 years now. So he is continuously contributing to our profession round the clock, we can say. And you see on the screen, there are little blue flags there. These are the places where we both have joined together in supporting the HSC professionals and continuing to do so. We wanted to do something more for India, and as you see on the left side of the screen, unfortunately, India is having a global deaths related to the industrial accidents on the top of the list. So there are so many organizations working in India with respect to the health, safety, and environment. And we wanted to bring this concept to the India on the foundation concept, HSC Foundation. It is there in rest of the world, Western world, but India, it is a new. So exactly today we are on 26th March 2022, 25, and on 25th March 2022 we launched our foundation, and virtually because of the COVID. And basically our foundation was originally was envisaged for India, but we wanted to have a support for the global as well. So on 30th November 2022, we established the Global HSC Foundation, and our foundations are basically a charity related organizations, but absolutely not a membership organizations. So we collaborate with the professional organizations, corporate organizations, academic institutions, and individuals. And our mission, vision, and objectives are very, very simple: to support the HSC professionals and as well as the HSC profession. So we have objectives in place to support, to advance, or to inspire the professionals and to provide educational and developmental opportunities like this OKT we are doing. We also recognize individuals, organizations, and also collaborate with the institutions and also having the MOUs with the similar organizations. We are officially registered in India. We have our, PAN card, our bank accounts, and as well as under Niti Aayog, we are registered as a under the Darpan program. We have a professional development grant. We have an industrial accident family support grant. We also have the J&A Keval Shanti scholarship programs supported by, patronized by Dhruti Thakkar from New Jersey, mainly to support the students. We have been doing this from last 3 years, and Professor Ramana as well as Dr. Lakshmi Narayan are leading this particular scholarship program in India, and it's going on in 2025. Will be soon announcing. And we also have the DL Shah Trust HSSC Awards Program 2023 to recognize individuals who are doing excellent contributions to the HSC profession. And we do a lot of community outreach programs with the help of Professor Ramana and Dr. Lakshmi Narayan on the first aid and CPR promotions. And this foundation's contribution form is available in our website. Whoever wants to support our foundations through the knowledge sharing or the financial support or whatever way you can always reach out to us through the website. There is an expression of interest form also there. We do have a governance body in place, and we have some functional committee chairs focusing on different areas. And we recently started this particular newsletter, Bharat HSC Foundation's Give Back newsletter, and mainly focusing on the different topics of related to the ongoing activities. I just want to share this newsletter, which is a March newsletter, and basically we focused on the Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS syndrome. It's the cases are increasing now. We focused on that, and March 4, 2025 was the National Safety Day. The editorial board you can see there, apart from myself and Mr. Jitu, Mr. Madhu Nalan Chakravarti, and Dr. Lakshmi Narayan are our editorial board members. They take a lot of pain and in collecting the information, putting in the right format. This is the March newsletter. We focused on the Indian National Safety Day, and we also recalled 2012 was the Chennai, when we launched the ASSP India chapter in Chennai. The chapter is still doing great. This was Dhruti Thakkar, who is also sponsor of our program. ASSP leadership was there. myself and Professor Ramana, Mr. Jitu Patel, everybody was there on this 2012. Even after 15 years also, or 13 years also, the chapter is doing great. Now they have come up with the PDC, 13th Professional Development Conference on April 27 and 28. And we focused on the another topic, International Women's Day. And in April, there are so many articles, inspiring women articles we are publishing in the next month. On the right side, you see the catalyst for engineering community mastery, the communication skills. This was the article written by our friend, Mr. Sunil. He is also the Toastmaster International leading leader. And he written this article on World Engineering Day, how the communication skills are important for the engineers. And there is an article on World Water Day as well. Paryavaran Samraksha Gatividi, one of our chair for the our fire safety communication chair, Mr. Rangacharilu, conducted a program on the community awareness on the environmental issues, and that was there. And progress on oil spill surveillance, the technology utilization in surveillance, surveying the oil spills was presented. This is a GBS article. And some posters related to the health, safety, environment, education. And this is a second part of the article on what's life's essential principles at lifestyle management. It's a part two. Part one was published in February. And yeah, there's a what safety culture article was there by Mr. Narasimhan. These posters are very, very informative and self-explanatory to educate the workers. And we have introduced the Hall of Fame, Digital Hall of Fame, where Professor Ramana was honored or recognized for his contributions to the health, safety, environment profession, as well as to our foundations. And breaking the silence of mental health. And today's topic is about that. The speaker also same is Dr. Sumit Sharma. And yeah, there is a Back to Basics Healthy Ecosystems article, as well as a World Pangolin Day 2025. There is electrical safety crosswords are there. Very, very informative, educative. You will also see on the biography of our founding trustee, Mr. Jitu Patel, basically a motivational and inspirational memoir. You can also get or order this book from the Amazon as well. And this was a webinar invitation for today. And old keys don't open the new door, explore the what's new. So there is a special announcement on the two webinars coming up in April and May, focusing on the cybersecurity as well as the safest HSC tools for implementation. So those are the different topics covered in the month of February. So with that, March, e-newsletter. With that, we would like to hand over to Mr. Jitu Patel for focusing on introducing the topic of today, as well as our speaker. So Jitu. Jitu, you're on mute. Jitu, you are on mute. So Jitu, you are on mute. Jitu, you are on mute.
He's not able to hear you. Just click on window, his window, and there will be asked to unmute.
Yeah, then he will receive. Trying that, but I don't know who kept him on mute. Sajito, you're on mute. Please unmute and speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I apologize. It's my privilege to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Sumit Sharma-ji, who is a senior executive leader for surgery and digestive health and banner health in Phoenix. We are proud of our Arizonian coming up and shining so high. He was a captain of a large ocean-going vessel and many more, leading high-stakes teams. He was also the head of process engineering for a Fortune 500 company, driving operational excellence. He also was a director of process engineering in healthcare, improving patient care through system innovations. He is an author of Transforming the Operating Room, a guide to efficiency and excellence. His certifications include so many, just to name a few: Six Sigma Master Black Belt, Stanford Certified Project Manager, Certified Healthcare Financial Professional, and a member of American Society of Gastrointestinal Endoscopy. He is an active member of National Alliance of Mental Illness, and he is dedicated to mental health awareness and support. For the past few years, at least 4 years that I know of, he has been volunteering his time in coaching high school students in leadership, design thinking, public speaking, and debate in his way of giving back to the community and helping shape the next generation of leaders. He is a spiritual scholar, and that I'm extra really proud of him. All his work and accomplishments are deeply influenced by Bhagavad Gita, including his authored 4 books, and he's keep on writing, adding more. All books are on hit sale. So, Sharmaji, we are so proud to welcome you, and I will not go in any detail about your topic and leave it entirely to you to go ahead and make the presentation that we are all looking forward to. Thank you.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Mr. Jitu. And please go ahead, Dr. Sharma. You can share your screen as well.
Sure. I'll start the presentation. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we can see that. Yes. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me here, Jitu. It's been a pleasure to be on the call, and always pleasure to spread the word about mental health and mental health awareness. And so thank you for the introduction also as well. I want to start this presentation by a small story. So years ago, I was a captain of a large ocean-going cargo ship. I was only 25 and one of the youngest captain, managing over 30 crew members and navigating the unpredictable waters. One night, somewhere near Mediterranean, we got caught in this ferocious storm. Wind was howling, waves were crashing over the deck, alarms were blaring all over the place. My first instinct was control the ship, fix the problem, keep everyone safe. And that's what leadership looked like to me then. Calm on the outside and no room for panic. But on inside, I was terrified. My heart was pounding, my hands were shaking. I didn't know if we would make it through the night. Around 3 a.m., an old crew member came into my control room with 2 cups of chai. He looked at me and said, "Sir, I made this strong because between the storm and your stress, I don't know which one is more scarier." Then he laughed. I didn't. I just stared at him. He sat down beside me and said, "You can't control the storm, sir, but you can sit with someone through it." That night, we did make it through, but I never forget what he taught me. It took me years to realize that leadership is not about hiding your fear. It's about acknowledging it and being human together. And that's what we are here to talk about. In a high stress industry, we have built a system that rewards endurance and punish the vulnerability. It's time to change that. Just with that story, I want to give you a little bit of a roadmap for today. We will explore why mental health is urgent, both globally and culturally. Then zoom in what happens in a high-stress role. Then we will discuss real-life strategies, two robust case studies, resources, but I also want to leave space for us to connect through the questions, a little bit of laughter, and some stories from you. So G2G has already given a brief introduction about me. I just wanted to quickly touch base. So I had a privilege of leading in many worlds. So when you change hands in different industries, you learn differently from different areas. So as a captain, as a process engineer in a Fortune 500 company, now a senior executive in a large healthcare organization, across these industries, I've seen one truth. You can have the best tool and the tech, but if your team is mentally and emotionally burnt out, none of this is going to work. What drives me isn't just the process improvement, it's the people's improvement. Mental health isn't a soft skill, it's a survival skill. And a lighter note, I've also learned that Microsoft Excel can fix your burnouts. No matter how many tabs you color code it with pink, blue, red, I'm passionate about addressing mental health and challenges in this high stress industry. Although I'm not specifically a licensed mental health professional, but I've done an extensive study in the topic. For clinical concerns, please do contact the licensed mental health providers. So as we talk about the purpose of this presentation, so again, the presentation explores more on the mental health challenges in industries like pharmaceutical, oil and gas, mining, and constructions. We will share some actionable strategies and real-world examples to foster some of this mental health in a workplace globally. I know everybody on the screen, we all love data. So I'm going to start with data. In US, we lose nearly 50,000 people to suicide each year. That's enough to fill a stadium. Now imagine every single seat filled and being silent. 53 million people in US have mental illness. Now, during the pandemic, we saw a sharp rise in anxiety, depression, substance use, and PTSD, especially among the frontline workers, students, and isolated seniors. And I'm sure you can correlate this to the pandemic time when you were sitting alone at your house, what was happening through your mental abilities. Telehealth calls for telehealth is basically being a doctor on the other side or a practitioner on the other side, and on this side being the patient through the video chats. That is telehealth call. That's the word that we use here in the US. Call for behavioral health, it just exploded. The CDC reported that there was a 4 times increase in anxiety and depression. And post-pandemic, we saw a 25% increase in behavioral health visit. We faced a shortage of psychiatry and therapy, and it's a global crisis. I have seen this with my own eyes of how those graphs were moving in the direction of those areas of behavioral health. The large organization that I work for today, we had to expedite the recruiting of the psychiatry and the therapist and the psychologist in our social workers in our team in order to incorporate that. We have made that full division of that team to dedicate it to this area. And all that happened right after pandemic. It was incredible to watch that, the graph going up. Now let's talk about India. So what is our numbers and stats shows? We have over 197 people that are affected by mental health disorder in India. It's one of the highest suicide rate in the world. But these are not just numbers. These are fathers, mothers, colleagues, leaders, frontline workers, our friends. Mental health isn't just a wellness program, it's a public health imperative. When we delay mental health investment, we don't just lose productivity, we actually lose people. So why mental health matters to us? In a high stress role that you all are today, and professions like healthcare, constructions, logistics, aviation, oil, gas that demand so much from us, we normalize the DICE function. 12 hours, midnight calls, skip meals. We say things like, this is just the job. But is it? A burnt out HSC manager is a safety risk. An overwhelmed nurse makes more mistakes. A construction worker under the pressure may skip the PPE checks. Mental health is directly tied to physical safety, productivity, and a long-term retention. Let me ask, have you ever worked with someone brilliant and reliable, but then one day they just vanished, left the job, shut down, or even worse? And please do reply to me about it when we come towards the end, if you have seen that person. And that's an unchecked mental health looks like, invisible until it is not. Okay, wanted to bring this up more from a cultural standpoint. There's a cultural imperatives that does happen, between differentials that happens between the Indian culture comparison to a global and to an American cultural differences. In an Indian culture, which I belong to, proudly belong to, we often stigmatize mental health relying on family and spirituality. The American culture is more open with an access to counseling and EAPs. Globally, blending the traditional and the modern approaches while respecting the diverse attitudes is crucial. Culture shapes how we perceive emotional distress. In some culture, it's noble to power through. In others, seeking help means you're weak. Some men were raised to believe men don't cry. And some women would fear being as too emotional at work. I once had a team member, a brilliant engineer, who came to me and whispered, "Sir, I think I'm having a panic attacks, but I don't want anyone to know." Now that secrecy is the real crisis. A culture should never be a cage, it should be a bridge. As I move to the other areas and challenges in the high stress industry, high stress industry don't just ask for your time, and we all know that. They take your sleep, your social life, and sometimes the sense of self. And here's what I've seen. An unclear role is equal to a constant anxiety. So you work in a role that you're not clear what exactly your role is. There's so much of gray area that leads you to a constant anxiety. When you put in a long hours, that's directly equals to no time for recovery for you. High risk environments is equal to chronic adrenaline. And when people break, we blame them instead of the system that stretched them to a breaking point. And I always believe the problem always lies in the process. It's not the people. The processes makes the system, and there's something is broken in the process and broken in the system before we actually blame a person for doing that mistake. On a story note, in one workplace, the coffee machine broke and 3 people had a minor meltdown. Now, the question is, was it about the coffee? The answer is no. It was about everything else that they were bottling up. We need to create a space where mental stress is not mocked, but monitored. Recognizing the mental health concerns. So burnout doesn't show up with a banner. It's not going to come with a banner. It would just sneak in. So how do you watch this? So look for your colleagues who are like the star performers suddenly became disengaged. They're always cheerful colleagues who gets quiet. A manager starts snapping at small things. Those are all burnout signs. And remember, laughter can just be a mask. So somebody is laughing doesn't mean that he is out of stress. It can just be a mask. I've seen people make jokes about needing therapy in the middle of crisis meeting, and that's often a clue. Your job as a leader isn't just to diagnose, it's to notice, ask, and support. Now I want to talk about psychosocial risk assessment and mental health first aid. When we think about workplace risk, we usually picture hard hats, slippery floors, fire drills, but what about the emotional hazard? What about the team member constantly checking their phone at 2 a.m. in the morning because they fear missing a critical email? Or an employee who's expected to hit KPIs, key performance indicators, while covering for 3 open positions. And that happens a lot. Open position on your calendar, on your hierarchies, is a big problem for that employee that we need to recognize right away. Or you have a new manager who doesn't feel psychologically safe to say, I'm overwhelmed. So if you have a team member who doesn't raise his hand when he needs help, that's a problem. So we need to create a system where they feel safe to raise their hand that they need help. They are overwhelmed. These are psychosocial risks, and they are just as real, just as damaging, and more often invisible than a physical hazard. Now, we're not just the only one, there's already an ISO 45003 that came in. The framework like this maps out where the stressors lies. Too much of workload, ambiguous roles, toxic hierarchy. I can provide a link to the ISO 45003 if your company is not compliant with it. Here's how it works. The first guides you to identify the psychosocial hazard like excessive workload, job ambiguity, lack of control over decisions, isolations, and toxic or discriminatory culture. Then it also helps you evaluate the risk, looking not just at the presence of stresses, but their impact on individuals and team functions. Finally, it offers strategies to put controls in place, adjusting how work is assigned, clarifying roles and expectations. So this is a very big topic, clarifying roles and expectations. So think about your role. Is your role clear? Is the expectation of your manager clear? Is your expectation of your team members clear to them? Is those clarifying roles are very, very important part of the work. Offering access to the trained peer support. So encouraging recovery breaks, and yes, that includes the mental health days also as well. So if you're familiar with ISO 45001, that protects your body. ISO 45003 protects your mind. So it's a blueprint of emotional safety. Also consider mental health first aid training, which manages to recognize the distress as if there wasn't a heart attack. Build a feedback loop, and so doing an anonymous survey can really help then rather than having a one-on-one meeting with someone. They might not reveal that because they will feel vulnerable to tell the manager or the leader what exactly is wrong with them. So anonymous feedback is very, very important in this. Now let's talk about some practical strategies. So when we talk about practical, it doesn't have to be expensive. So we can try smaller things like mental health minutes in a staff meeting, flexible hours for burning out preventions, leadership modeling vulnerability, sharing when you feel pressure. So you have to ask, like, are you a mental health benefits being used? Do you have mental health benefits in your organization? Are they being used appropriately? Or are they being buried in some kind of an HR portal that nobody opens? So if your wellness program involves yoga session at 7 a.m. in the morning and after 12 hours of shift, then you might be a part of the problem. So we have to think through this carefully. So talk a little bit about the case study. So JAMA, the medicine articles are being published in JAMA. JAMA Network opened and evaluated an employer-sponsored mental health program that talks about the introduction of screening tools, therapy options, self-guided tools, and medication access. So this article was very viral here in US, and this companies have actually taken this and applied this to their organizations in US. As the tools were applied, we talked about screening tool, therapy options, self-guided tools, medication access. What happened with that? So that was your input if you think about that. And what happened as an outcome of that was anxiety and depressions were down, productivities were up, return on investment. We always want to talk about return on investments. We're positive. Yes, investing in mental health makes money. It's not about doing good anymore. It's not for talking about good anymore. It's about doing smart. And this is a smart way to approach your workforce. I have another case study in which the PubMed explored the use of PPG signals to assess the mental stress. Now, this is a non-invasive, real-time monitoring tool that helps the HSC professionals identify the stress for timely intervention and proactive mental health management. One of the suggestions that came out from that was to create dashboards for emotional fatigue. Can you do that? So that is some thoughts that you want to put together with your team. Check stress levels like you check safety checklist. If your people tell you that they are tired, believe them. Don't ask them to hang in there or hang with them. Support isn't just a slogan, it's an action by itself. All of these studies, all of these articles, there is a link in the PowerPoint that will be shared with you so you can access and have more details about the studies. In US, construction workers have actually a suicide rate of 4 times higher than any national average. Why is this happening in US? Long hours, job insecurity, no psychological safety. And in US, we have this culture called a macho culture. Don't talk about feelings. Zip it up. Don't talk about it. And majority of these problems have been seen in men rather than seen in the woman. Men suffer more from the psychological impact of don't talk about feelings. Recommendations. So peer support groups can be put on site. There can be a normalized counseling, a visible leadership support. Because a hard hat, which you all wear at work, protects your head, but what protects your heart is the question. There are a lot of resources that's available. There's resources that are internationally available. There are resources that's locally available. So to promote mental health in workplace, you can utilize some of these resources like WHO, APA. NAMI is a very good resource. I'm a very active member of NAMI. And there's a lot of mindfulness apps So Calm and Headspace is very, very famous in US. But there are Indian apps like Your Dost, Versa, and MindPeer. I know the government of India also came up with a program for Telemanas, which is almost like a telehealth program. So I'm not sure if you guys have ever used it. It might be worth looking into. Implement the industry-specific program, foster that culture, prioritizing the well-being and self-care from that perspective. Now, before I go into a Q&A, I want to quickly talk about a small story. And now this is not related to the HSC, but beyond that. So it's not about from a hospital or a high-stress job site. It's from my community right here in Phoenix. So a few months ago, I was invited to a local senior gathering, mostly Indian seniors who had moved here to be closer to their children. Beautiful people, warm, generous, deeply wise. After the event, one elderly gentleman came up to me. He smiled and said, "Beta, I liked your talk, but you know, sometimes even silence has stress." I asked him what he meant. He told me quietly that life had changed after retiring and moving to the US. He had time, but no real purpose. His children were busy, his grandkids were growing up fast. He missed chai and newspaper mornings with friends in India. The festival that felt alive, the sense of being needed. Then he looked down and said, "I don't tell my kids though. They already have enough stress. Why should I add mine to them?" I was stunned because this wasn't burnout from overwork. It was isolation. It's invisible, but just as heavy. I realized that mental health challenges don't just exist in an ICU, in an operating room, or in construction, or in a boardroom, or any of the HSC. They live in living rooms, our drawing rooms, our living rooms, in a quiet kitchen, in a home where everything looks fine from the outside. Since then, I have had the privilege of speaking to many seniors in our community. Aunties who feel invisible, uncles who worry quietly about money, about health, or other feelings that they have lost their role in the world. They have taught me this: mental health isn't just for workforce, it's for all of us. Whether you are a hospital administrator, or you are a surgeon, or you are a retired school teacher, or leading a team, or trying to adjust to a new country in your 70s, your feeling matters. Your voice matters. Again, saying this, your feeling matters and your voice matters. And to all seniors in our lives, let's check in with them. Not just saying, "How are you?" but "How are you really?" Because healing begins with being heard. With that part of the story, I want to open this up for the Q&A and pass it back to G2G. And what questions do you have? What resonates to you? What have you tried in your organization? I would love to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sumitji. It was very, very nice presentation, nice information. We have some information, but before that, we would like to invite Dr. Lakshmi Narayan, our J&ABHF Foundation Chair for the Health and Well-being. Dr. Ji, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashok ji. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So excellent presentation, Dr. Sumit. It was really enlightening thing to know about the stress levels at workplace and how to counter them. It was really very good. and the dashboards and the assessment tools that you were speaking about. I really wonder if you can share more details about that in the groups. So that would be very enlightening. I'll begin my Q&A moderation with a quote by Jitubai. He has mentioned these alarming numbers of suicides and other sufferers in USA are 21 in 1 lakh, and 197 million globally are mental health patients, which needs immediate attention globally. This is remarkably eye-opening fact. Jitubai has presented this. You have any comments to make on this, Mr. Somit?
No, I think you hit the point. This is really good, which resonate what we are trying to do here. There is a global pandemic that's going on right now.
Right.
The first thing is to recognize this. That's the first step that we need to take. And I often have this conversation in a high stress industry where majority of the people are not talking about that, but quietly. So I'll give you an examples like from in hospitals. Hospitals, what happens, the doctors are so vulnerable to these, and a lot of people they're not talking about their feelings. There are nurses who are getting into those situations at the hospital. They start self-medicating themselves, and they get into an addiction. And that is happening a lot in US. The burnouts of physicians, the burnout of the providers. And same thing is happening in the other industries where we talk about construction industry. In the construction industry, there is not much of an access to the healthcare. There's not much of an access about reaching out to the right professional. And there's a huge cultural taboo. So when I talk about India specifically, or our Indian culture, we don't want to talk about this. We don't want anybody to know that this guy is facing a trouble. Just power up. Nothing will go wrong. Don't worry about it. This doesn't answer. It's like somebody's saying, Dad, I'm going in depression. He said, what? Where are you going? You're not going anywhere. Stay home. So that culture is what we need to change. And that's where we want to say, no, we understand this problem. First of all, they don't need a fix. They just want you to listen to them. Just be with them, listen to them, sit with them, and power through and get a professional help when you need that help.
Yeah. Thank you, Subhiji. Jitubai, I hope you got a good answer for your statement. Anyway, you are muted. I'll come back to the Q&A. Talking about the hospital stress, I remember one particular example from India. There was one young lady, about 35 years, a cardiac anesthesiologist, and she had given CPR, made multiple CPRs during her career. But unfortunately, because of stress, she passed away one fine day. It was a tremendous stress. And while you're talking about hospital doctors and nurses being under stress, a doctor who is working in the operation theaters day in and day out throughout a career, they are definitely under tremendous stress. That's one point that I just wanted to make to you. And second thing, there are a couple of questions in the chat box, and I'll read them out. One is, can you please provide more details on dashboard contents for mental fatigue?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So mental fatigues, there are a number of indicators in the case study. I'll definitely share that case study with the entire group also as well. It's when we talk about mental stress and dashboard is to capture the indicators that you're seeing. I think I mentioned in my PowerPoint, like things like the person who is highly motivated is not showing that motivation anymore. So how do you scale that from a scale level of 1 to 5? So I'm just giving you one example. Truly engaged person and suddenly not showing an interest in your project, is not interested in the work. So something else is going on in his life. A manager that your own manager can have those issues. He's snapping out on things. what is going on. So is that kind of a behavior is what you want to put in that dashboard. As you go through in your team meetings, you want to talk about that evaluation, and having a survey which is anonymous is very important. Now, what do you get from that survey is what goes on to the dashboard also as well. Anonymous surveys have turned out to be this, the study shows that is much better than having a one-on-one conversation. Sometimes we feel, oh, let's have chai and let's just talk about what's going on with you. Now, if you're a boss of that person, he might not tell you exactly what's going on because he's worried about his job by itself. So what you want to know is what's going on behind the scene anonymously, so you can create a solution for the processes, for all the things that you put in place for the work. So for example, if you're in construction, you're a set way of doing things. You have a milestones to reach. You have a project timelines that you need to reach. But have you created enough support for that person is what you want to find out. So those surveys will really give you the insights in those directions. This is how you fix those small processes that are in place, move them into a system level and look at the system, whether my system is really fixed from this, and then provide that support. So dashboard is, there's a whole article on the dashboard that I will pass on to you, exactly what KPIs are to be put in there, but just on a high level. I hope that answers your question.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Sumitji. There's one more question, again, almost a duplication of this. How to assess the stress from one Mr. Bala Shiva?
So assessing stress is obviously there's a lot of other checklists that has been put into place for that. A key indicators, like I kind of mentioned, I think it's more from a repetition piece of, is your understanding of your colleagues, your coworkers, of how they're behaving, the symptoms that they are showing, the work they're pulling back from the work, not being in that motivational factor, or snapping out, or they are talking about issues at their home and they are disinterested in doing things. That is already telling you those are some of the indicators. For personally by yourself, you want to talk about the stress indicator by yourself, is you're constantly thinking about things. So you are not able to give yourself a break when you are done with your work and you are still thinking about something constantly. By itself is showing you that you are in a stress. Now, if you're waking up in the morning, hey, my boss was supposed to send me an email at 2 a.m., you're picking up your phone and you're checking out that. Before going to bed, if you're 11 p.m., you're still waiting and thinking that, what am I going to do about my project tomorrow? So there's strategies of how you deal with all of this. This strategy is a simple one solution that has worked and study has shown is, before going to bed, if you're too worried about something, sit down, make a list of things that you need to do. Write it down on a piece of paper. And that will give you a peace of mind that I have actually got everything under control. And I know I have a plan. So now you can calm down and relax that this is how I'm going to deal with this, rather than being on the bed and thinking about all of that. So that's just one example that I want to talk about.
Yeah. Thank you, Sumitji. Bala Shiva, I hope it answers your question. Yeah. There's one more question from Alok Chatterjee. What is mental health configuration of higher management that do not allow leading indicators of accidents like near misses, first aid incidents that actually leads to bigger accidents, for not spreading spirit of accident prevention, a definite stress measurement, especially in the corporates? It's a long question. You want me to repeat it?
Yeah, could you repeat that? What I understand from the question, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that how do you bring up this culture to the senior management? In a gist of it. Is that right?
Yeah, Mr. Alok Chatterjee, can you more,
right, sir,
clarity to the question? Yeah,
you are right, sir. You are very right. Actually, the mental condition of the higher management is basically to be changed. As you are telling that not only the work hours are to be considered, long work hours or long pressure, very heavy pressure. It is like also hiding many vital things. That's the thing.
right? So it again comes back to the culture of the company, of the organization, and that's where we want to make a huge difference, is to have more open discussion and dialogue. There has to be a feedback loop within the organization where you can provide your feedback from that perspective. I think moving to an ISO 50003 is such a critical thing for an organization. Now, honestly, when I work for an organization, I always look at what is the vision, mission of this organization that I want to work for. So the organization today, I'm just giving an example that I work for, has a thought: how can we make healthcare easier so that the life can be better? Now look at this statement by itself, tells you where this organization wants to go and how they want to help the patients from that scenario. So you have to see how your thought process resonates with the company's culture. Look for those feedback loops that you have through the HR and pass those messages to them. Give them out some of these ideas of having an anonymous surveys that you can put in without getting into more, some of these senior management don't want to direct feedback, but this anonymous feedbacks really help for the senior management to understand what's going on. Now, larger organization in US, they have a lot of this independent surveys that come in annually. Not only this happens for the mental stress, but also there is an anonymous survey, we call them as 360 survey, which not only just you, but also your boss has a 360 of what their peers are thinking. What about the team that is thinking about the boss, and their boss's boss is thinking about them. So that gives them an overall view of what's going on from that perspective. Again, you can't do much to change completely the mindset of your senior management, but what you can do is provide a feedback through a proper loop or a channel. And to be honest, if there's some point of time that you think that the mental stress is not being addressed by your organization, it's time to look in a different direction then.
Yeah, thank you so much. Alokji, I hope it has answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Somit, there are no more questions, but there are two comments which I would like to express. One is from Balashiva. What he says is, I believe stress comes in places where you have expectations. It's a human psychology. We start everything with some expectation that brings stress. Yes, that's expectation. This is what a comment one of our participants had to say. Any comments on that, Mr. Sumit?
Yeah, if I were to relate that, the expectations are everywhere, whether it is the job or it's the family, So, I'll reach back to what Jitu uncle was saying about this specifically part about Gita. The Gita by itself says that we are supposed to do our karma, but don't worry about what the result is going to be. So that kind of expectation by itself, when you're doing your work and not expecting what results is going to show up, is by itself is the key undertake of all of this. Now let's go back to the job by itself. So we are all in a professional jobs when we have those expectations. Your manager has those expectations. The true problem comes in is because of the ambiguity of the roles that you are. So it is very important to clear what is your job, what is your expectation from your boss, and that is where you will make a huge difference. I had that on my PowerPoint slide. Is your one-on-one discussion with your boss is to have that conversation. Boss, this is my job, and what is your expectation? And I think if you can manage those expectations by itself, from professional standpoint, you wouldn't have that problem. So you have the clarity of your role. You don't have to worry about what your coworker is doing because you are clear of what you're supposed to deliver from that standpoint. So that's kind of my 2 cents there.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sumit. That was a great explanation. Now I come back to one more comment by Jitu Patel. What he says is just a story. High stress situation, sinking of the ocean-going vehicle called CAT-FAT, caused stress level to over and beyond that happened on the Mediterranean coastal waters. Waters that contain 900 grams of deadly poisonous AKD compounds that contaminated the large area of the ocean that was a tourist attraction. Imagine the dangerous, life-threatening concern to save many thousands or even over millions of people's lives. So this was a comment posted by Jitubai. You have to comment anything on that?
No, I think that's
Yeah.
Jitubai's mic is, I think, on mute. He wants to say something.
Dr. G, thank you for sharing this story. As Sumit G was the captain of ocean-going vessels, and some of them maybe even the large super tankers, this particular Kafta, which sunk in the Mediterranean Ocean, and that caused not only just the workers, so many hundreds of workers involved in containing these contaminated waters where millions of sea creatures died. So many people also lost their lives from lead poisoning. And me, little boy with my little fingers, was involved in doing constant research how to salvage those 900 drums full of anti-knock lead compounds. And that was a severe stress level from worker point of view, scientists, engineers, politicians in Italian court, $450 million worth at that time, I'm talking in 70s, were spent. Imagine the magnitude of stress at all levels. And Sumit Ji, hats off to you. What you shared is very relevant, very applicable in all walks of life, and your knowledge sharing is a tremendous philanthropic for us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jitubhai. There are no more questions actually. So maybe I would just like to thank you for that wonderful extra presentation and your particular facts about the construction industry. Whenever we talk about construction related injuries and so on, we talk about falls, we talk about electrocution, we talk about caught in between, and maybe we talk about the struck by the fatal four, what we talk about. But we never talk about the mental stress that the construction worker undergoes. And you very rightly said, majority of the suicides each year are maximum from the construction workplace than from any other industry combined. So with such a great magnitude of stress in the construction related injury, would you like to comment and suggest any particular tool to assess the stress levels in the construction industry in particular?
So I think I will go back to the ISO
45,003.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, ISO 50003 is very well defined number of things, number of steps that we can actually take in order to measure that. I think there's a full set process of how. So first thing, what it does, again, I just want to say, is that it guides you through some of those psychological hazards like excessive workload, job ambiguity by itself, who's supposed to do what. Construction, a lot of the work issues is because of the ambiguity, because of the communication issues. Those impacts are the safety that has been put in place. There's something called by itself is that how do you dedicate that process that there is no fallbacks that's happening. So putting that into place is the key to assess those areas. Now, there's also another topic that really came up is, so construction, one, you're in the front line. The second is if you are working remotely or you are actually having a remote job within the construction and you're inside the tunnel or you're inside somewhere else, that isolation by itself needs a lot of support from that perspective. And then I think one of the person actually touched base on the call is about that toxic or discriminatory culture with the organization. That is something that needs to be addressed within the organization of the senior management level. And what can be delivered from that is more adjusting the work that is assigned for those people, clarifying those roles and expectations, and then offering the access to the training piece of it. The training is very important from the mental health standpoint, that how do you see this kind of things happening with one of your workers. So again, being overworked will definitely, more than 12 hours, you're still asking them to continue going on. You know that this person is exhausted or he's just looking for an extra money. So you got to stop taking those areas and start thinking more from a safety standpoint, from a mental health safety standpoint, and physical health standpoint. All of that is a combination of things to make those sound decisions.
Yeah, thank you, Samiji. There are no more questions, but just one or two comments, maybe something interesting. There's one Mr. Geo Raj. What he says is, this is a typical mindset called Chalta Hai. Indian culture is like that. That's okay. That's all for the question and answer sessions. There are no more questions.
Yeah, I would just say, with the Geo Raji, that Chalta Hai is the culture, and I think you as a leader can change that, right? I mean, if some team members that are working for you, how can you make that difference? I think some of the times that change that we want to see in the world starts from us. And you have those colleagues with you, you have those team members with you. How can you make that impact? How can you change those things? And the leadership is so contagious. When people see you making that change, they will start following what you're doing. I think that makes a huge, huge difference. So I would say the change starts from within, and let's start today. Start focusing on the mental health by itself.
Thank you. There's one more comment by Mr. Bala. He says it's a detachment to work. Anything you want to say about that?
Not the detachment to work, but detachment to the outcomes. Giving your 100% to your work, giving your 100% of taking care of your own things, and not worrying whether I'm going to get promoted or I'm going to get extra money by doing that, but understanding that what I'm doing is 100% towards the objectives that have been laid down for me. For example, in mental health, we just talk about that piece of it, is have I done the right thing for my team? Have I actually not pushed them to do an overwork when I know that they are overworked from those standpoint? Have I really recognized that this person is facing a huge family issues? He's going through a divorce, or he's having some kind of a kids issue or parents issue. What is that mental stress of that guy? You don't want to put him in a high stress job, but take him down from that position, put him in a different area where you think it should be the right and perfect for him, to give him that time and space in order to get where he wants to get. So I think it's more about that, detached from the outcomes rather than from the work. I think work is 100%. Our work is our thing. We want to give 100% to our work from that standpoint.
Yeah. Thank you, Samiji.
Thank you, sir.
Since we have come to, there are no more questions actually. I just wanted to cite one particular small example of a stress that a doctor undergoes. Can I?
Please
Do we
go
have
ahead.
the time, Ashokji?
Yeah, go ahead for 2 minutes. Yeah,
Mr. Samiji, I'm a medical graduate from Usmania Medical College from 1973 batch. Okay. I had one particular classmate who was a highly paid surgeon in Ireland. Okay. And one of those, a couple of years back, he came down to India on a visit to visit his aging parents who are ailing. During his stay in India, he had to go back in a month's time. During his stay, he realized that his father's condition was very bad. Very soon, he became a vegetable. And his mother's condition also was very bad. Added to this, he had some land disputes with his brother and other family members. All of this caused a tremendous stress in him. Because of all this, he quit his job, highly paid job in Ireland. He stayed back in India for some more time. And over a period of time, maybe after about a couple of months later, he died. So the only thing that worked against him was the stress. He had gone through tremendous stress. So that was just a short story I wanted to present.
Understood, sir.
Nothing more on that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, and that's exactly what stress does to us, and how do we manage and cope up with the stress every day.
Yeah.
The things that you can control and the things that you cannot control.
Exactly.
India is a world leader of meditation yoga, which really helps to kind of reduce that stress level. Be engaged with your friends, be engaged with your community, go out, meet people, have discussion, and this is applicable to everyone. Don't stay at your home. Go out, meet people, have discussion, have those dialogues. Whether you're a senior or whether you are, a middle-aged person, it's applicable to everyone from that standpoint. Take a walk for 30 minutes, have that and engage yourself in something that you really love to do. If you love writing, write a book. If you love going out and helping people, go out and help people. Volunteer for some of these communities that is out there. So keep yourself engaged from that standpoint, so that you can manage your stress and depression at the same time. So that can lead to a depression or anxiety either way. So that will really help from that standpoint. And the other part is, don't be afraid to raise your hand for help. Mental health help is available to everyone. So don't be afraid. Don't think, what is, are wo kya sochega? So that kind of stuff that we talk about, that chalta hai culture, is what we want to move our mindset out from. Don't be afraid, because this is very normal and we have solutions in place.
Thank you, Subhiji, for that wonderful comments.
Thank you,
Since there are no
Doctor.
more questions,
Yeah.
I hand over the mic to Ashokji.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much for conducting our Q&A. And Jit Saab, this is our gratitude to Dr. Sumit Sharma ji. Are you there, Jit Saab?
It's indeed a great honor. And as we already saw and witnessed, that the presentation created a constant consternation by asking not only questions, but making comments. And one in particular, I would like to bring it up to Sumitji, that we are all highly educated, well accomplished health, safety, environment specialists, consultants, and a lot more can be said. Bottom line is, most of the incidents are attributed to, or one of the gentlemen already mentioned in our chat box, 4% are attributed due to unsafe conditions or unsafe acts. But 96% of them are attributed or caused by creating stress level in industries that you address, having stress level operations. So your presentation was relevant, applicable in all discipline, and we really thank you so much for spending time and sharing your knowledge with all of us. And this knowledge will be further be shared by your presentation that has been recorded by Ashok ji, with so many hundreds and thousands of specialists in not only health, safety, environment, but also in industries, which will be also not only the process safety side of it, but also healthcare side of it. Industries will be shared. We really thank you very much, and we are very grateful for your knowledge sharing, and for which, even though it is virtual, this little certificate is offered to you with love, affection, and high respect. Thank you. Please accept it.
Sure. Thank you again. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge here today. And before we conclude, we'd like to just update on our little activities which are going on and recognize our supporters. These are our founding financial donors for our Bharat HSC Foundation, as well as for the Global HSC Foundation. And these are our knowledge donors like Sumit ji. There were so many 37 subject matter experts before today, so they were all there. And these are our knowledge ambassadors, which are sharing the knowledge through our WhatsApp group round the clock. Uh, and we would like to introduce our new volunteer or supporting member, uh, Mr. Alok Chatterjee, J&ABHF Foundation advocate for West Bengal. And he is the one who has been having a very good experience in the field, and now he is supporting several organizations, and including our Bharat HSC Foundation. Every day morning, he posts a question related to health, safety, and environment. By end of the day, he also answers that. So it's a great opportunity for all of us to learn, and our editorial board of our Give Back newsletter decided that we will honor one gentleman who is sustainingly participating in those quizzes, and we'll announce in the every succeeding month newsletter. For the month of February, we selected Mr. Puneet Hoduru from Vizag, India, as a sustaining learner of the for the month through these quiz questions posted by Mr. Alok Ji. Mr. Alok Ji, would you like to say a few words?
Actually, it's my really big honor you are actually giving for a very small book. What I should say that it is nothing
Yes.
in the comparison of the people already who are very knowledgeable in this field. Only to give, they are getting this opportunity. Many of them have talked to me, WhatsApp me, and told me that they are sharing this thing to their employees. I told yes, or why not? It
Why
is
not?
it's
Why
my
not? Yes.
best opportunity in my life that
Yes.
my things are going to people so much. So I am really, really thankful to these organizations, whoever are giving me this opportunity to post this, and they are also sportingly joining to the answers. So many of you are joining, and people are many varieties of people in varieties of times they are joining. Obviously, there are some people who are regularly being answering. Thanks to all of you, sir. Thanks to all of you again in J&A Bharat and J&A Global, and we are all really thankful that you are giving us this opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alokji, and please do select one person who is sustainingly, continuously participating on monthly basis. We will announce
Sure,
his
sir.
name in
Sure,
the,
sir.
our
Sure, sir.
newsletter. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, Puneet, as well. Thank you. And our upcoming programs, of course, there is a cyber safety program is coming up on the 16th April, and our Dr. Lakshmi Narayan and our Professor Ramanaji is continuously conducting these first aid and CPR sessions and community awareness programs. We would like to give back to our future professionals, and these are our foundation's knowledge group, which is already posted in our WhatsApp chat, Zoom chat. And I also posted one of the 45,003 psychological stress free course. There are so many courses are available. I posted one course in the Zoom chat box. You can also attend that course, which our Dr. Sumit was referring. And these are our foundation's details, account details. If anybody is interested, they can always contribute on your birthdays, wedding days, as well as, any of your success you want to share, you want to give it back to the community. This is an opportunity. These are global foundation details. These are our flip book available with the QR code for the activities. And with that, we would like to invite our J&A Chair for HSC Communication and Leadership Skills, Mr. Dinesh G, to conclude our session today.
Thank you, Ashokji. Hope I am audible.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. It is my great honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks and conclude the session for this insightful occupational knowledge transfer session number 238. So far, you all were asking the question with our presenter, Dr. Sumit Sharma. Let me take a privilege ask one question to all you audience, that if you can share a single line statement what you top most liked in his presentation. I know we liked all the full presentation, but if I rank in the top most one thing, what you liked? If anyone want to share, otherwise I will answer. Okay.
Please go ahead.
It's the laughing and cup of tea. to
Correct.
really.
You got my point. You got
Yes.
my point. That is the things, what a attention grabbing opening of his presentation that shared personal story of his control room, that cup of that coffee. So first and foremost, on behalf of all of us, I extend my deepest gratitude to Dr. Sumit Sharma, a senior executive leader for surgery and digestive health and Banner at Banner Health, Phoenix in Arizona. His presentation on prioritizing the mental health in high stress industry was truly enlightening and very related to our profession. From my understanding why mental health matters to cultural influences, and he described the workplace challenges, recognition of the concern, and practical strategy. Dr. Sharma has given us invaluable takeaways, the real-world case studies on workplace mental health program, stress assessment, and recognition of the concern and practical strategy. Dr. Sharma has given us stress assessment, health program, and especially in the construction industry, added the great depth to our understanding. A heartfelt thank to you, to our esteemed trustees, Mr. Ashok and Mr. Jitu Patel of J&ABHF and Global HSE Foundation Trust for their unwavering support and efforts in making this session a reality. Your commitment to knowledge, sharing, and professional development is truly commendable. I also would like to acknowledge the presence of the distinguished dignitaries of the J&A Trust and other board members whose support and leadership continue to inspire us all. And last but certainly not least, a huge thank you to all the attendees. Your participation, engagement in QA session, and enthusiasm made this session even more meaningful. Your dedication to learning and professional growth ensures that the knowledge shared today will have a lasting impact. With that, I once again express my sincere gratitude to everyone who contributed to making this session a success, and wishing you all continued growth and success in your professional journey. Have a safe day. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. Ashok Garlapati.
Thank you so much, sir. Together, everyone achieves more. We are doing as a teamwork, and we truly support our functional committee chairs for making this happen, and Dr. Lakshmi Narayan and Dinesh ji and everybody. And with that, we would like to continue our efforts for safer and healthier workplaces by enhancing our competency levels. And with that, we would like to have a screen stop sharing.
Ashok, one second, please.
Yes.
Before we end the session, I would like to acknowledge
I'd like to open the cameras, please, so that, go ahead, Jitsop.
Yeah. I would like to acknowledge the presence of two lovely ladies on this virtual meeting. One of them is Miss Dipti Sharma, the good lady wife of Sumitji.
Wow, that's nice.
And second one is Professor Meena Sharma, who is the mother of Sumitji. And these two ladies make it more glamorous, our meeting, and they are the inspiration to Sumitji's all accomplishments. So very delighted to acknowledge the fact of being there with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumitji and Sharma-ji, Mrs. Sharma, for joining, as well as sharing your presence here today. And I request everybody to open their camera so that we can capture as we announced in the beginning. Probably yes. Okay.
Don't be shy. Open your camera, please.
Thank you so much, and we'll catch up again. in some other session, in 38th cyber safety session in April 16th, and I'll be posting that link shortly, so we will talk again. Thank you, Jit Saab. It's a networking session. If anybody has got any other comments, they can